Good evening and thanks once again for joining us on another edition of the program Leaders and the Led. I am Donald Weze and I have Valia Gado in the house. Valia.
Donald, so glad to be here because we're going to do a lot of learning from our father in the house who is a guest. I don't want to be in a hurry to mention the name, but we'll learn a lot surely on today's episode on leadership and followership.
You know, I am excited, and let me tell you the reason why I'm excited.
Why?
The gentleman that is going to be introduced very shortly by you is a long-time friend and acquaintance of mine. He is a trustee in ECWA. I know that the viewer is out there who's going to say, okay, I'm going to watch. It is your privilege to watch one of the trustees of ECWA talking to you tonight. And of course, at the half-hour point, we are going to allow you contribute by calling in and asking questions. Because of the volume of what we want to discuss, we are going to allow you only 3 questions. So we are going to allow only 3 questions from our viewers. If my director-producer allows, maybe I'll add 1 or 2 to make it 5 phone calls, so that we can talk a lot about what is happening, particularly at one of the highest echelons of leadership in ECWA. Valia, take it from there.
Well, our guest for today on Leaders and the Led is Trustee Moses Y. Dembo. He is the trustee in charge of Zone 7 of the Evangelical Church, winning all, talking about Borno Bauchi Zone.
Well, as brief as it is, Trustee sir, you are welcome to ECWA television.
Glad to be here.
I want to start from way back. Way back, you have so much experience, and I know that you are an accountant by training and profession, and through the years you have done so much. How has it been all these years?
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here. To be sincere, I'm very, very grateful. I really worked for many, many years in ECWA. You know, I retired just last year, December. It was never easy. You know, I started from ECWA Productions Limited as far back as 1983. You know, from ECWA Productions, those days, maybe certainly when you were not born.
I was somewhere in the room.
I started in 1983, you know, after serving for a period of 9 years at ECWA Road Productions. They deployed me to ECWA headquarters as the Chief Internal Auditor. From there, I served for some years too, before I was made substantive director, or director of audit. Actually, it has never been easy. And from there too, I was deployed after serving for about a period of 21 years, then deployed to ECWA Road Development, where I finally retired. So when you talk of my experiences, certainly life was never easy. To be a leader, life was never easy. Because, you know, I started from, just as I told you, from ECWA Productions Limited. You know, when I became a director, the only thing, I took my time to pray. Because, you know, prayers will relieve us of our spiritual necessities. Through prayers, we come closer to God. You know, the Bible says, whatever we ask for in prayers, we should believe that we have received it, and all will be ours. He said, we have not because we ask not. So I devoted my time on my knees to pray to God to give me direction. And certainly he did, because he said, whatever we ask for, we should believe that we have received it, and all will be ours. That is exactly what I did. I prayed personally and, of course, with my family. And certainly we saw the manifestation of our prayers. And we have every cause to say, God, thank you for what he has done thus far. One of the major things, you know, as a leader, the most important thing is, you know, one should apply the principle of humility as a leader. If you don't humble yourself, certainly you have a serious problem. The devil can use you. You know, the devil can be very crafty. The devil can be very cunning to deceive you, to lure you into sin. Certainly, you know, that is actually what I demonstrated. the principle of humility. You know, Jesus Christ did it. He did it by washing the feet of his own disciples. And he said we should do the same. If you don't humble yourself, believe me, you will fail completely. So you must be a man of humility. So that is number one. Another thing again is integrity. For people to be able, at least your followers, to be able to trust you, trust in you, what you do, you must live a life of integrity.
Yes, Trustee. You mentioned integrity, and something just jumped into my heart, because being a chief internal auditor and then becoming the director of audit at ECWA headquarters, with this gamut of issues of finances, and sometimes you go, you get information, they say there are double accounts here, this one is that one, and
certainly.
How did you manage it? I'm really interested in knowing these things, because I think that a lot of our ECWA brothers and sisters out there would want to hear from a former director of audit of ECWA. How were you able to navigate through the years? Because a lot of people have this impression that auditors are people who are settled so that they bring out reports that are favorable to whatever malfeasance that took place.
In addition, most times auditors are not always liked most time by most people, because they are more like the EFCC, that's the Economic and Financial Crimes of an organization. So how did you fare? How were you able to scale through all of this?
Thank you. Really, it was a big challenge. You know, as the director of audit by then, you see, I believe in delegation. That is in the first place, because, you know, I was into administration. You know, my deputy actually is the technical person. I do more of administration. And in fact, all the auditors were answerable to the chief internal auditor. So if we have anything for when it comes to investigation, he will now direct one or two auditors to carry out the investigation. So that at least, you know, I wouldn't have a link at all with any of the auditors. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Yes. So by the time they now finish their own report, it is their own responsibility to submit their report in writing to the chief internal auditor. So the chief internal auditor will now look at the report. From there, he will now send some copies to me for my ratification. If there are major issues that would require maybe setting up a high-powered committee, we do it from that end, from my office. Because sometimes, you know, somebody can write something and you know, there's every tendency that whatever report you are writing, you know, you can witch hunt. So the best thing to do, you know, is to set up a committee to go and look at, you know, the work that was done by that auditor. Because, you know, we believe in objectivity. We so much care about our own integrity. We don't want a situation whereby, you know, by the time the report comes out, you know, people will begin to challenge the report. And that is equally in line with ECWA constitution and bylaws. So we must strictly go by it. And if we don't go by the provision of the auditing procedures and guidelines, and of course the ECWA financial policies and guidelines, and certainly the ECWA constitution, you know, there will be serious problems.
So how do you do all of this? Like, definitely the witch hunting aspect will come, because some persons would definitely err. Yeah. So how do you go about clearing the records, and at the same time apprehending people for the crimes they have committed, and at the same time maintaining friendship?
Very good. You know, that is why I told you, whatever we do, you know, we set up a committee. Before, you know, the audit department is under the office of the president. You understand what I'm saying? Before the report even gets there, we make sure that, you know, the report must have passed through the chief internal auditor and the director of audit. So what we usually do when we set up a committee, the committee now will go out to look at those issues and make sure that whatever they are putting in the paper must be substantiated with facts and figures. I hope you understand what I'm saying. That is why, you know, we go to the extent of giving out queries. When we give you a query, we say, okay, we have discovered that this is what you have committed. Please respond in writing. Yes. You understand what I'm saying? So this is enough evidence, because by the time you now respond, you know, we now say, okay, he has agreed, and it is going to be, it will form part of the exhibits that will be attached to the report.
Yeah, we understand, we seem to understand the workings of the audit, like from what you've just explained.
Yes.
But how did you as a person, apart from what is recorded on the books, how did you as a person ensure that people are corrected for the crimes they commit and you maintain friendship? It's like slapping with one hand and at the same time using another hand to pat the back of somebody and bring the person back into like showing some love and trying to see that the person gets it right.
You know, God has made us differently. You know, we're people of different personalities, we're people of different disposition. Sometimes, in fact, somebody will commit something, he will never accept it. You understand what I'm saying? But what we usually do in that kind of situation, whether you accept or you don't accept, what we go by, you know, are the information that are made available to us. How you understand what I'm saying? Are the information. So sometimes you see somebody will continue to write and write and write. And in fact, you will discover that there was a clear case of financial propriety. But they will, in fact, they will refuse completely. So in that kind of situation, what do? Would that stop you from writing your own report? Certainly, your report must be written. As long as, you know, there were enough evidences to substantiate whatever you are putting across.
Yes,
How you understand what I'm saying? But to please somebody in the area of your work, when it comes to audit, sometimes it's very, very difficult. Because, you know, God has made us differently. Somebody will never accept it because, you know, he so much cares about his own integrity as a person. How you understand what I'm saying? He will never accept it. So, but, you know, we thank God because, you know, we have guiding principles. You know, in the audit, we have the auditing procedures and guidelines. We also have the audit financial statement. We also have the most important thing is even the Constitution at the end. Because whatever they will do, they will make reference to the Constitution of ECWA. Whatever they do. But as long as our action, or maybe what we have put on ground, does not contravene the Constitution, believe me, we are very okay. And at the end, we pass it to the Chief Executive, who is the ECWA president. And once it gets to his office, you know what will happen then? But he can even as well, you know, when they meet as ECWA executive, they will now say, okay, what do we do? Please, let's go ahead now and set another high-powered committee. He can do it from his own office. So that he doesn't want a situation whereby he will take, you know, action on the basis of just the report, you know, he has received from the auditors. He too, the president, you know, he so much cares about his own integrity as a person too. So once that is done, you know, the person will now be asked to proceed on, you know, indefinite suspension. That is what is normally done. And once you now be asked to proceed on an indefinite suspension, you know that you are in trouble.
Yes.
By the time the committee comes up with the report, you know, that's, you know, and you are found wanting, you know, undisciplinary measure will be taken against you.
Trustee, sir, I want to push us a little bit more forward. From the audit, it is a serious check and balance department where the finances of ECWA are being monitored very closely to make sure that there are no malfeasances, there are no misappropriation of monies, because these are God's monies. As one preacher said, that we are all treasurers of God. As long as you are on earth and you are a believer, you are a treasurer, because he has given you responsibility on so many things as a believer to do for him. Fall forward. Based on what you have spoken, sir, I can see the humility aspect of leadership is there. The integrity aspect of leadership is there. And being truthful to situations is also very, very cardinal in leadership positions, because you could be the best of hands, but if you are not truthful in whatever you are discharging, there's a problem.
Certainly.
And attitude also comes to bear.
And of course, there's the attitudinal aspect of it. Sir, the next point that I want you to look at is the leader as a visionary. Prior to coming in here, we were discussing about the ECWA Rural Development Department, where you retired finally. Sir, how much of vision does a leader need, considering, let's use ERD as a case study. How much of vision would a leader need to bring up an organization that found itself in murky waters?
That is a very good question. You see, when I became the managing director of ECWA Development as far back as 2014, it was never easy. It was never easy at all because I look at the financial statement and I discovered that, the company was highly indebted. To the extent that, in fact, that night when I was given the letter, I couldn't sleep. Because, certainly liability is never an easy thing, how to settle it. Because, you will be under serious credit pressure. Serious credit pressure. So just as I said from the beginning, I took my time to pray, especially with the management. When I say, okay, this is, a Herculean task, how do we address it? If God is not on our side, certainly we'll not be able to make any achievement here, considering the situation of ECWA development. So we sat down, we looked at the issues together, we prayed over them. And at the end, God started revealing to us what we should do as leaders. Because, I'm such a person that, I don't want to be a sole administrator. I work with my management. That's the first thing. Yes. So that, I believe in carrying everybody along yes, for a common purpose. That is exactly what we did. So when we now came together, we now say, okay, what do we do? And we discovered that, in fact, the staff there were almost 200. And you discover that, there were some staff that were doing menial jobs. Yet they earned fat salary. A work that would have been done by a casual staff or a seasonal worker to just pay him 15,000 naira. Then you see somebody taking about 70, 80,000 naira. Yet doing, you find yourself in a poultry house.
Okay. So what leadership style did you adopt at that point when you found yourself in that situation?
Very good.
As a leader?
The leadership style, number one, you see, I am not a choleric leader, a domineering leader, a dictator. You understand what I'm saying? I believe in, dialogue. You understand what I'm saying? I believe in dialogue. So what I did, I didn't even, when we met as the management, we now said we unanimously agreed that this issue should be presented to the board. So in the first thing, what I did, I presented it to the board and I defended it. And the board saw it with me. And as at that time, our salary wage bill was about 13.5 million every month. You understand what I'm saying? So what I did a simple analysis and came up with just about 4-point-something million. I presented it to the board, and the board saw it with me, and the approval was given. So what we did, instead of trying to see that we will charge people, we invited the staff. You understand what I'm saying? We invited the staff. We now said, okay, this is the situation. How do we go about it? But, we're struggling with salary, with a lack of, adequate working capital in the company. And for us to be able to ask all the staff to go, it would have been a difficult thing because, the money was not there to pay them. So what we did, we now said, okay, we're going to do it. We did it in phases. And we started with the junior. We asked some of them to go and we're able to pay them. And at the end, we reduced the wage bill from 13-point-something million to just 4.5 million. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. And beside that, you see, we made effort to meet with the ECWA leadership because, the indebtedness was very high. The debt profile as at that time was over 500 million.
Okay, so I seem to I get the kind of leadership. It was more like a democratic kind of
leadership.
Dialogue kind of leadership. Now the ECWA General Council, Church Council, will be meeting, and then something strategic is going to happen this time around. Yeah, and then it's more like a novel thing, something new that has not happened ever in ECWA. What leadership position, I would leave it to Mr. Donald. What leadership positions are available to be contested for?
Yeah, it's a privilege because this is something new. It's never happened in ECWA before, and it's happening now. We have the position of the Vice President of ECWA, is going to be going for election. The GS of ECWA, that's the General Secretary of ECWA, is eligible for re-election again, and he has just finished his first term in office. And then we have the Assistant General Secretary of ECWA that is also going to be going for elections. And then we have trustees. Trustees are coming from 3 zones of the ECWA nation. The Kaduna zone, which is popularly called Zone 4. Then there is the Kogi zone, as well as the Bauchi Borno zone.
So in all of this, we look forward to having 5 leadership positions that whose seats will be filled.
Yes.
What form of leadership qualities should we expect from persons who would occupy those positions?
You know, ECWA is a growing denomination. Just as you rightly said, it's something that has never happened before, because, you know, God willing, there will be election of how many positions for ECWA? About 3 for ECWA executive positions.
Yes.
Then for trustees, we have 2. You know, people have been praying, because, you know, I remember during the last General Church Council, you know, it was announced for people to pray. Because, you know, without prayers, we will not be able to achieve our desired objectives. That is why, you know, ECWA members are really praying. You see, to the kind of leaders, you know, the people that will be doing the election are the council members. And they know the people to elect. And I know number 1 requirements of a leader is integrity. That is what they will watch for, integrity. Because, you know, integrity is very, very important in the life of a believer. If your attitude is questionable, certainly nobody will even bother to even see you as a leader. You know, if you look at, you know, there are people, if you look at the scriptures, there are people with integrity. One of them was Job. You remember the story of Job? You know, when he was suffering, struggling. His wife said, you know, curse God and live.
And I.
You understand what I'm saying? You understand that's what he said? Isn't that what she said?
Yes.
He said, why are you talking like a foolish woman? Do we always accept good from the Lord and not even trouble? He said, I will never compromise my what? Integrity. I will never compromise my integrity. So in that kind of situation, if you have a leader without integrity, you have a serious problem, and ECWA will suffer. Secondly, humility. You know, if you have a leader that doesn't humble himself, you have a serious problem. Because, you know, humility, really, many people have been talking so much of humility. Jesus Christ is a classic example. You know, he did it too by washing the feet of his disciples, and he said we should do the same thing. It's never easy for somebody to be humble, because these days, you know, people are full of pride, arrogance. They don't even care. All they are after is leadership. But what people should always look at, you know, integrity, humility, and somebody, you know, that has the ability to listen. You understand? If you cannot listen to your people, believe me, you have a serious problem. I remember when I was, you know, here as a director of audit at the headquarters, I allowed people to always see me, all my staff, to make sure, because, you know, it's true that you'll be able to understand their problems. But when I say, okay, I'm the director and nobody should come to my office, do you think that I'll be able to know what is happening out there? No. Certainly I wouldn't know. So at least ability to listen should be one of the qualities too. Very, very important quality. Then another one, love and compassion. You know, you have so many people. You are going to be a leader up here. To be a leader is never an easy thing. If you don't have that love and compassion for your people, you will have a serious problem. Certainly, you know, I always give example in the scriptures. You remember the story of Abraham in the scriptures, when God, you know, was about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Yes. You remember that story very well. Yes. You know, Abraham, full of compassion. You know, you remember what he said. He said, Lord, what if there are about 100 people from 50 down to 10? Yes. And there was none. Because, you know, you could see that, you know, he was never happy. He was a man full of compassion for his people. So, a leader must have that, that quality. If you don't have that quality, to be sincere, you will fail, certainly fail, as a leader. So these are the kind of things that, our council members should look at. People of integrity, people, with humility, people that have love and compassion, people that, have the ability to listen. And of course, people that talk less. We have people that are just like parrots, like what Tim Lai would say, the sanguine.
Yes.
They talk too much. It's a very bad quality. You see people talking too much. As a leader, you should talk less. You should be able to talk less.
Yes, the Bible even encourages us that we should be very slow to speak.
To speak.
Quick to hear.
And quick
To
listen.
hear.
Yes.
So these are some of the things. And beside that too, you see, confidentiality is another thing that, is equally very, very important. If you are the type that, you don't know what you are doing, whatever happens, you go outside and be discussing it. Believe me, you ruin the organization. So as a leader, confidentiality is equally very, very paramount and should be looked into.
Yes. Sir, we are fast approaching the midway point, but I don't want you to stop here from what you are saying. I can see the issue of a leader being visionary and being able to take decisions that would help grow the organization. I want to ask this question because I'm sure that our viewer would say, but he has not asked this question. The question I want to ask, sir, is that in the ECWA family, so many a times when a visionary comes, he's elected as a leader and he wants to get to do things that will jumpstart or help the organization grow faster and be much more united and committed to the things of God, especially in ECWA. You hear people say, this is not the way we do it. We have always done it this way in ECWA. I am asking this question because it's like there is a disconnect between the followers or the led in ECWA and then the leaders of ECWA. It's one group here, one group there, and then we don't really understand what is happening, sir. You are our father, one of the fathers of ECWA. How do we go about clearing this so that we don't have people like Diotrephes of the third book of John, who is always imba anyidamuba, excuse my expression, and a critic. Yes.
Actually, whatever you do, people must criticize you. That is just the truth and nothing but the truth. And in leadership, as I said from the beginning, we are people of different personalities. And the way you behave will be different from the way my daughter will behave.
Yes, true.
Do you believe that one?
True.
Because God has made us differently. Whatever that happens, you must come across critics. But as a leader, you should remain resolute. You should remain resolute. You see, people find it difficult to embrace change. Whatever they will tell you is that, after all, you are trying to bring a change. As a result, they will resist vehemently to change. Yes. It's happening. Yes. They will resist vehemently to change. But, we thank God because ECWA has a new constitution. And most of these issues have been addressed in that constitution. Even at home, sometimes, my children would tell me, Dad, you are old school. You understand what I'm saying? That means, they want the things done, the way they want it. If you don't go by that, they begin to say, oh, we're uncomfortable. What if you do it this way?
That's because times are changing. Society is changing.
I agree with you. Sometimes they're changing. Some of these changes could be very, very detrimental to whatever you are doing. So that is why, we, the elders, we do it gently. But you want to do it overnight. That is why we now, so please slow down a little so that we go together. Certainly, we must embrace change as they come. Look at what is happening today. Cast your mind back to many, many years ago when, you see a Fulani man in the bush wearing, just rubber shoes. You remember?
Yes.
Now you can see Fulani man on bicycles. Now you can see Fulani man on even driving cars. That means, they have adopted, a change. If a Fulani man can go to that extent, what of you? Why is it that, you want to be very, very colonial in your own mentality, highly orthodox? You don't want to embrace change. Once change comes, please embrace it, as long as, what you will do is not, will go in line with the Constitution. Or maybe will go in line with the biblical principle. You embrace it. That is the most important thing.
So what kind of followership should we expect, especially at this time? Because it's strategic in the evangelical church.
All right, sir. Sir, I will say, don't answer that question. We are going to go on break. When we come back, you will answer the question.
Okay.
What should the led do? Viewer, if you're just joining us, it's Leaders and the Led, and we have Trustee Moses Y. Dembo of ECWA sitting and fielding some of the questions that we are asking of him. And we do hope that you're having a great time, having new ideas and angles to a new insight as to how these things are being done at this level of ECWA. We'll be back in a moment. Do stay with us.
Leaders and the Led shows every Tuesday and Saturday by 7:30 p.m. on ECWA Television Africa, with repeats on Thursdays and Mondays 1 p.m. Keep watching Leaders and the Led on ECWA TV Africa. Watch today's live on ECWA Television Africa every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday 10 a.m. with repeats on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays 9 p.m. Keep watching ECWA Television Africa. The Midday Show live on ECWA Television every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, with repeats on Monday by 10 p.m., Wednesdays by 9 a.m. and Fridays by 1 p.m. The Midday Show live only on ECWA TV Africa. Keep a date with the Lifeline on ECWA Television Africa every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday by 4 p.m. with repeats Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m., Saturday 8:30, and Sunday 9 p.m. Keep watching the Lifeline on ECWA TV Africa.
Well, if you're just tuning in, it's Leaders and the Led from ECWA TV Africa. And we have Valia Gadu in the house alongside Trustee Moses Y. Dembo. And we are fielding a lot of discussions on what leadership is and how leadership is being done so that things will get more smoothly. Before we went on break, Trustee, Valia asked you a question. What should the led do, since we have spoken about leadership? Now, there cannot be a leader without a follower. So the followers, what's their own role?
Very good. The question is equally very important. Certainly, even in the church today, if you have followers that don't go with the pastor will certainly have problems. We are human beings. Nobody is perfect. We have our areas of weaknesses. We have our areas of deficiencies and so on. You see, what a follower will expect from you, just as I said from the beginning, if you are a leader, you should be able to listen to him. Are we together? Yes. You should be able to what? To listen to him. A follower, too, should expect a leader to be selfless. There are people that, they are always after themselves. Self. Once you have that, believe me, you have a serious problem. Even in the church, when it comes to leadership, a follower will never tolerate that. Because if you don't learn to deal with this, believe me, you have a serious problem. Another thing, again, a follower would like to see his own leader or their own leader, we want to see him, somebody of integrity. How you understand what I'm saying? Yes. If actually you are the type that sometimes the way of life you live is questionable, you will have a serious problem with your followers. And another thing, transparency, which is equally to integrity. So all these things are very, very important. If you are a leader, you have to sit down. Sometimes, when, like me, what I usually do, sometimes before I get to bed, I will just sit down and say, what do I do with my staff? I always ask this kind of question. What do I do to impress my own staff? I know I'm not a perfect being. Then I look at, what they need. Then I say, okay, in this area, I should do this. In this area, I should do this. So that I'll be able to carry them along. Because if I don't carry them along, no wonder sometimes you see petition. There are people that, are very good in petition writing. They begin to write, after all, this man is not doing. Sometimes they just sit down. Not that you have committed that thing, but for the fact that they don't like you, you see, they begin to write something against you. Something that you didn't even do it. So in that kind of situation, sometimes sit down to know the problems of your followers. Don't just sit down because you are a leader. Oh, you now arrogate too much powers to yourself. And you believe you have arrived. So that is pride. That is just the truth, because, pride can certainly destroy you. But look at, the plight of your own followers. A very good example is when I was even in ECWA development. Somebody will come to you and say, okay, you see somebody, a mature person, weeping, crying, that he doesn't even have food at home. In that kind of situation, do you send him back? And as at that time, the company was passing through serious financial crisis, to the extent that payment of salary became very, very difficult. Do you now send him? Certainly, you shouldn't do that. His own case is very, very unique. You must, give attention to that kind of stuff. Instead of sending him away, call him. What do I do for you? Even if you don't meet his demands 100%, at least you should be able to support him to a large extent, so that at least you'll be able to get something for his own family. So these are some of the things that, you should do. And of course, if you're a leader too, from time to time, have time with your own staff on individual basis. I don't know what I know, but if it is in the church, sometimes it's usually very difficult. But from time to time, it's equally absolutely necessary. Visit them, encourage them. That is what they need.
Sir, what you are saying is calling my mind to a situation. A lot of the followers in the body of Christ look at the pastor, and let's go the chairman of the DCC, and then now we are talking the president of ECWA or a trustee of ECWA. Members of ECWA look at you gentlemen as God. So sometimes, I give you an example. We went on an assignment in Gombe, and somebody came and said, they said that you are very close to ECWA president. I don't know who told them that. But I work in ECWA headquarters. And he said, let me shake hands with you, because if I shake hands with you, I am sure I have shaken hands with ECWA president. I am saying people in ECWA look at you gentlemen as God. What are you expecting the members to do?
Very good. We say so much on autocracy. Yes. Before I address that one, that is what also kills the church or your leadership. To be an autocratic leader, a domineering leader, a tyrant. That kind of personality is better found in the barracks than in the church. That is just the truth about it. Not in the church. If you want to live, to be very domineering in your leadership, believe me, nobody will give you support. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Yes. Nobody will give you support. No wonder today in our leadership, you discover that many people have that kind of personality. They try to exhibit it. Somebody will come to you and now say, okay, you are the head, or I'm a trustee. This is the way forward. You don't do that in the church. That is why the issue of the humility comes in.
Yes.
The issue of humility comes in. That is why, sometimes we have people that are autocrats. People with choleric personalities, tendencies.
Yes.
They will hardly listen. So that no wonder they see us as what? As God, just like you have said. But in that kind of situation, Is that the best leadership style? It's not, certainly. That can also destroy you. If you do that, it will certainly destroy you. What Jesus Christ wants from you is that, principle of humility. If you humble yourself, you carry everybody along. Believe me, people will appreciate you. Your followers, you see them, in fact, they will give you support.
Yeah. What's the place, I'm quick to ask at this point, what's the place of unity of purpose when it comes to leadership? When you're occupying a leadership position, how relevant is unity of purpose in terms of maintaining the vision of an organization or maintaining the vision of the church, and at the level of followership, how relevant is unity in terms of speaking with one voice for the common good of church and for the purpose of pleasing God?
Very good. When you talk of unity...
Sorry, sir. Our call is just coming in. I'll take this one. That's our first call for today. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Good evening. This is ECWA Television, Leaders and the Led.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. May I know who is speaking with me?
That is Reverend Akachukwu Bane from Anambra State.
Okay, Reverend, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I'm delighted in your programs, and I've been listening with a keen interest.
I'm sure you would want to talk to the trustee. He's listening.
Yes, there is a question you asked him. He has not. He's deviating from that question.
Okay, what's the question, sir?
You wanted him to explain what do the led, that is the followers, contribute, or what are their role in the church or in any parastatal they are involved or they are found.
Okay.
He has explained about the leader.
Okay.
Let us hear what the followers can contribute to the progress of the institution or organization they found itself.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Very shortly, the trustee will respond to your observation. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
So in terms of unity of purpose, that borders on your personality too. You see, if you are an effective leader and you know what you are doing, certainly, unity is something that you can never discard it. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
All right.
If you really want to succeed...
I'm having a second call now. Hello?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. This is Leaders and the Led, ECWA Television.
Yeah, my name is John Abulus, calling from Kaduna.
John Abulus from Kaduna. Talk to us.
Okay. Mine is a question.
Go ahead, ask the question.
Okay, I have two questions.
All right, I hope they are not very long questions.
No?
All right, go ahead, ask your question.
The first question is leadership...
Sorry?
Is leadership a gift?
Okay, is leadership a gift? Yes, that's the first question. Second question.
Yeah, so the second question now, if the first question is yes, then can someone learn to be a leader and be successful?
Okay, that's your question.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much for calling in. The trustee will address that very shortly. Just keep watching. Thank you for calling. Yes.
Very good. When it comes to unity, you should try as much as possible to build relationship. It's one of the qualities of a leader.
All right. Our third caller, sorry, sir. Our third caller is coming in now. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Leaders and the Led. Who is talking to me?
Mr. Jabla Margima from Maiduguri.
Jabba Margima from Maiduguri. How is Maiduguri this evening? All right. Jabla.
Yes, Margima.
All right, Margima. Okay, you're welcome to Leaders and the Led. What's your contribution?
Yes, I want to add on pastor that called from Maiduguri, not Maiduguri, rather Anambra.
Okay.
I want to ask the trustee.
Okay.
He asked that what is the role of the followers
Yes.
in contribution to institution
Yes.
and church development or church planting.
Yes.
Actually, it has been a challenge sometimes as a follower when you see a place or plot that you suggested to the church elders that we needed a house prayer so place. And mostly the challenge we have is that then the church elders will help you, and before you know, they will say there's no money, there's no that, there's no this. So I don't know what is the role in terms of this is our role as a followers. We say that we needed this in also place so that at least we can have a very close place of worship instead of moving from far and comparing with the condition of my degree.
Okay.
So now, I want to know what is the role of the church elders, the
Okay.
reverend, if the followers say that at least we should also a place that is on sale. We want church to buy so that at least a
Okay.
function will be there for a while. So place.
Yes,
So
I-
what is the role of that?
Yes, I understand. I understand what you are trying to say. You are just asking for.
Alright.
You are asking for the role of members in the church, the role of the elder, and the role of the pastor.
In church planting
Yes, and in
or
church
expansion
planting.
of the church.
Yes, the trustee will talk to you very shortly. Just stay with us.
All right.
Thank you very
sir.
much. Yes, I will now allow you to respond to the observations that were made.
Very good. Okay, in terms of the role that is expected from the followers, there are so many things to be done. Number one, is encouragement. We have a leader. That he sacrificed so much for you. He prays for you. He visits you. He does so many things for you. What do you do really to encourage him? Another one is support. Because if you don't support him, he can be discouraged. And it will affect his own work. I remember when I was here as a director of audit, from time to time you see staff even sending messages to me, encouraging me. By word of text, by word of even visitation, and so on. And in fact, that actually has really helped me, has really built me to put in my best. So if you have members that don't encourage their pastors or their leaders, there will be problems. At one time, they will be discouraged. Another thing, again, that is equally very, very important, accountability. Sometimes, you see...
That's accountability in terms of the followers. How should the followers be accountable?
No, when I talk of accountability, you see, whatever happens, you see, sometimes, there are members that don't even want to open up at all to their pastors. They conceal whatever they have. If you have that personality, believe me, it will never help you. Certainly, from time to time, you should be open. And another thing, again, how to support our leaders. I remember, let me just give a very good example. Like, I came from a village, and we used to have a pastor, who was highly emotional. You understand what I'm saying? To the extent that, some people started running, the followers, members, running away from him, even changing churches because of the kind of, highly temperamental, highly. So in that kind of situation, what do you even get from the members? Do you think somebody will even come closer to you? No. He will never. So it depends on your own personality, your own relationship. Very, very important. The moment, you are such a person that, you humble yourself, believe me, you will begin to receive advice from your followers. But if you are an autocratic leader, just as I said from the beginning, nobody will come to you. You appear highly domineering. Who will come to you for advice? The only thing you will get from the followers will even discourage you. No wonder, we have followers dividing them into factions. That kills the church.
So in essence, what you're saying is that the reaction of the followers within the body of Christ or in an organization is usually determined by the way and manner the leader behaves. Okay.
Certainly, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
If you don't behave well, you don't expect, somebody to come closer to you. You don't at all. That is why, we have been emphasizing relationship matters, especially in the era of unity. Yes. Once you are united, you bring people together. Yes. I assure you, you have support. You get encouragement from your followers. But if you are not, people, just as I wanted to say, people will begin to divide themselves into cliques, factions, to disorganize you, to frustrate you, because they don't get what they want. Yes. That is what is happening in my village. Similar thing happened. We have factions. When it comes to election, you see the other faction will team up against the other faction to make sure that they raise leaders from that faction. And that kind of thing, is it good for the church? No. The simple reason is because the pastor didn't even believe in bringing them together, that unity of purpose. Once you are able to bring them together, to encourage them, they too will encourage you, and you will have their own support. So, the position, the leadership style of a leader, in fact, matters a lot, because it will build relationship.
Yes.
Yes. So that man from Maiduguri and the first one, the questions are almost the same thing. Yeah. That is why I decided to join them together.
Yes.
And there's one other question to be attended to.
Which one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Is it a gift? Is leadership a gift?
Yes.
You see, that one too. That is why, if you're about to elect a leader, there are so many things you need to know. I'm telling you, if you overlook that area, you have a serious problem. Just as I said from the beginning, there are leaders that are highly temperamental, highly emotional people. Sometimes, I always say this, this personality trait is an inbuilt. Sometimes, it will be very difficult to get rid of it. Sometimes, the theologians believe that you can get rid of it based on 2 Corinthians 5:17. Is that not so? Yes. All things have passed away, and behold, new things have come. Yes. You understand? You think you can, but the psychologists believe that it's an inbuilt. You can never get rid of it. You can only suppress it. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? Yes. You can suppress it. After some times, in fact, your character will come to open.
It must come out.
It will come out. You can only suppress it for some times.
Character is like smoke. You cannot
I'm telling you,
you
cannot hide it.
Coming out.
You cannot hide it. So in that kind of situation, you see, when it comes to leadership, you look at people, you don't just sit down and say, okay, this is my brother. Take away sentiments. Look at people with humility, people of integrity, people that will be able to listen to you. That is why, the area of saying, is leadership a gift? I find it difficult to understand, because whatever you do should be in line with the biblical principle. Once you are a Christian, you have accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior. Certainly, all these excesses when it comes to leadership, you will never arrogate too much power to yourself. Certainly, because you allow the leadership of the Holy Spirit to lead you.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So whatever you do, people see what you do. Only that sometimes in election we bring in sentiments. Oh, I want this. This is my man. This is from my tribe. We bring in sentiments. Well, once we do that, at the end, that one will be quite detrimental.
Okay, my director is telling me that I should begin to wind down now. So there is this question I said I must ask you, sir. And the question is, you are so many years you have been in one leadership position or the other. You just retired last year. Now you are an ECWA trustee. Another big job on your head. How is mommy and the children accommodating this one? How have you managed your time?
That is a very difficult question. And do you know that many of us are guilty of this? Because, I remember at one time, let me just tell you what happened. Some 4 years ago, we were attacked. Armed robbers attacked us in the house. And that day I was to travel, about 11 years ago. And I was to travel to Slager, for an official engagement. Armed robbers attacked us. And there was nothing I could do than to travel that same day. I remember my wife almost wept. She said, look at what has happened. And we are leaving the house. There was nothing I could do. The only thing I could do was to say, please, I'm sorry. I almost went on my knees to say, please bear with me, because people will be waiting for me. The entire DCC, it's a kind of... yes. I tried to explain it to her. But at the end, she said, okay, go ahead. So all I could do was to ask, one of my brothers, to come over, to stay in the house. But all along, you know, I have a wife that is very, very understanding. Because, you know, in fact, I have been traveling, especially when I was in the audit. There's no week that I will not travel. And actually, it affected my family. But I thank God because, you know, all along, my wife would say, okay, I'm even used to it. I'm even used to it. But I thank God because, you know, God has really kept us intact. There's no any problem. And up till now, we're together. The number of, I don't travel as I used to. It's you know something that worth giving God the glory.
Amen to that.
So it's never easy to be sincere. You know, I have offended, especially my wife, so much when it comes to, you know, in the area of my work.
All right.
We shouldn't deceive ourselves.
I like Viola too. What's your last thing?
Well, I encourage us all. I encourage us all to walk by. It's not by might, neither is it by our power, but we should walk by the dictates of the Holy Spirit. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Viewer, for the past 55 minutes or so, we've been sharing minds on leaders and the led with ECWA Trustee Moses Y. Dembo. I do hope that you learned a thing or two about what leadership is and the role that you're supposed to play. Don't forget to pray for the upcoming elections at the GCC very, very soon. From all of us here, and particularly the ECWA executive for giving us this platform to come your way, we say thank you and God bless you. See you next time on another edition of Leaders and the Led.